Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Friday highlight, which is going to finally be me first time ever featuring the Tier 10 Russian cruiser, the Petropavlovsk, here on World of Warships. I have to apologize. I completely spaced redoing any video on Wednesday. I realized that at the end of the day as I was working on my EU dockyard grind. And then also I was like, I'll do one instead on Thursday since I forgot to do it on Wednesday. And what did I do? I forgot to do one on Thursday too. So yeah, FlimsyLunchTray. That is who I am. Yeah. So we're back on Friday. Just a side comment here as we get into looking at this wonderful, powerful Tier 10 Soviet cruiser. I'm gonna have to censor chat, not because of that there's gonna be bad things said in chat. The NA server is quite active on discussing anything, right, from yogurt to politics, world wars, you know, all these things. And I'm blocking the chat more for the how do I phrase this, to prevent any internet trolls from just looking them up or messaging them in game, because they make a lot of good points in their discussion in chat, and I just don't want anyone griefing them because it's video game world. I've been on the receiving end of it for saying this the littlest thing, so I'm doing it more for them, not so much that they have an argument or they're saying bad things to one another. As you can see, I'm divisioned up with Doom Beagle and the Shimakaze, and he instigated it with this Cyber Futon comment, so never change, Doom, never change. So let me talk about the Petropavlovsk. So what I'm going to do is because this ship is just an incredible Tier 10 cruiser. This ship has had so many nerfs over the last, what do you say, 3 years? 2-3 years? I'm trying to remember what update are we even in. I was looking back to nerfs to the Petropavlovsk, dating all the way back to update 9.9. And this is a Tier 10 ship that is regularly banned from clan battles. It is a ship that is regularly limited to no more than one in clan battles, along with several other ships. And then, you know, Wargaming just keeps making the ship better in the sense that it recently received a unique upgrade ability, which we'll talk about tomorrow when we do the upgrade and commander build video. And so it's been a long time for me to finally sit down and grind out the ship line. I've had Petropavlovsk now for, I don't know, maybe over a month or something like that. And this video is going to be pushing the Petro to its limits, as you say. Because we're going to be doing a lot, and you're going to be able to see a lot of the strengths here on the Petropavlovsk. So let me just go ahead and talk about the pros and cons listed in WoW's wiki. I'll try to put that up on the side of the screen, perhaps, or something. Pros: large hit point pool for a cruiser. Icebreaker bow and thickly armored midsection, very durable when properly angled. Trust me, it is very durable when properly angled. The hull sits very low in the water, making it hard to hit at range. This was one of the things a lot of players complained about. And there was an update, like, I think it was during the update 10 cycle. They actually raised the freeboard of the ship 0.5 meters. So, like, I don't know, was that 1.5 feet or something like that, to try to nerf the ship a little bit, because it sits almost at as low in the water, I think, as gearing, if I remember right. All main turrets can rotate a full 360 degrees, so whether you're pushing or kiting, it's like awesome. Excellent AP penetration, second only to Stalingrad, if that still holds true. Slightly improved ricochet angles and AP short fuses. Unique dispersion curve improves accuracy under 14 kilometers. So that's really where these guns begin to shine even more. Outstanding armor piercing, high explosive shell velocity, currently the best in its class. I don't know if that's changed at all yet since this WoW's wiki was put in, but the shell velocity is so amazing, it doesn't take very long for your shells to reach target, especially when you go from playing something like Des Moines, Salem to Petropavlovsk, you just like, wow, this velocity is like crazy good. But you have, how do you phrase it? You don't have very high shell arcs, so you have more flatter shell ballistics, which does actually help citadeling targets longer at range. You have a strong AA suite, and aided by the defensive AA fire consumable, which you see I do not have because I swapped it out for the hydroacoustic search. Access to 12-kilometer surveillance radar consumable. And then they make another pro here, but that's changed. It needs to be updated in WoW's wiki. It says respectable 12.4 kilometer surface detection, and you often catch destroyers off guard with radar when spotted. They nerfed the concealment a while back. The best you can get concealment now is 13.20 kilometers. And as that was one of the ways Wargaming was trying to balance the ship, so to speak. Because that was a very strong feature of the ship. Cons, horrible high explosive damage output on par with tier 8 cruisers, so really you're only firing armor piercing with the Petropavlovsk, because that's where this ship shines. I mean, we've not even, we're almost 50,000 damage now. Only firing armor piercing, if I remember correctly. You do have poor kiting angles, practically needs to show broadside to fire her front gun turrets. Now you may have actually noticed that when I was, in the beginning of the video, when I kind of positioned out, when I was shooting the Schlieffen, and I decided, you know what, let's not shoot, let's go ahead and get turned around here. Very slow main battery traverse speed, so taking something like Grease the Gears you're very much going to want. Massive turn radius and slow rudder shift. Worse dispersion than other cruisers past 14 kilometers. And your surveillance radar, the Soviet radar, being 12 kilometers, has a very short duration. Excuse me. So, all these things together, if you understand Petropavlovsk as a cruiser, that really you're not going to be kiting so much in it, so to speak, because of those poor forward and main battery firing angles. You're mostly going to be sitting angled forward or just bow on, as you see what I have been doing so far here in the game. As I think we had a triple fire there at one point by that enemy Sherman. So that sucked. But we're going to be able to heal back a lot of that fire damage, even after using our DCP to put out the double fire, right? One of the things that's very powerful when you're playing cruisers like Petropavlovsk, even like Des Moines, Salem, and a host of others, is even if you're sitting more bow on and you're not, let's say, pushing, you're sitting high still, you actually want to be accelerating forward, like go stop to 3/4, stop to full backwards or reverse, forward and backwards if you're going to sit in a position like that. So here what we're doing is we're trying to get more of an angle on the Republic. We're going to utilize the island between us, even though the Commissar is currently spotting us. What we're wanting to do here is we want to get a little bit more out on the side. As Doom Beagle and Shimakaze, he's been really abusing the battleships here with torpedoes, and he's got a lot of spotting damage, and he's actually going to have a lot from this game alone, as we've just completely collapsed their flank, as the 4 Sherman allowed us to make this push up the 9-10 line versus, kind of putting a stop, so to speak, to not allowing Doom to go up like he has. So, that's kind of been the big play. So we're capitalizing on that now here in the Petropavlovsk. So we are running Kuznetsov as our legendary, unique commander, so to speak. And he is fantastic to run on the Petropavlovsk. I had him on Kremlin, but I went ahead and moved him over to the Petropavlovsk as we pick up our first kill there on the enemy Republic because of the talents that you're able to activate with him. He's available in the army for 175,000 coal, if you're wondering about him, and you're going to see... I think we activate at least one of the talents later on in the battle, but I don't remember if we activated the other one, which I'm even spacing what that talent is off the top of my head. So what does Petropavlovsk do really well? Well, she's just this... I think there's more than just the 2 immediate things that jump out to my head. She's an extremely durable cruiser. A really good durable cruiser. You angle well. She's really difficult to citadel unless you go full on broadside. Her forward main battery firing angles are excellent. I mean, you can actually get all 3 guns firing and don't even have to worry about being citadeled or taking a lot of damage, so to speak, when you are more bow on. flexing that. So she's just an extremely durable cruiser. She has a very small superstructure, so it can be frustrating for destroyers or maybe some cruisers that are trying to high explosive spam, but they're not getting any pins anywhere just because of her armor scheme, which Wargaming has slightly nerfed since then. So maybe I'll talk about that in a moment as I'm checking to see if the Commissar had torpedoes here. And then the other thing is her guns. These guns are the bee's knees, as you would say back in the day. These guns are 220 millimeter guns that have that high shell velocity. I was actually trying to pull it up here to tell you, almost 1,000 meters a second. I mean, it's more typical you see something like 800 to 700 meters a second. So the fact that you're almost 1,000 meters a second with both the high explosive and the armor piercing is just astounding. So your shell travel time is really short. So just to catch this here, we were trying to take out the Yamato, but the Commissar decides he's been doing enough as a hybrid ship sitting behind the island. Now it's time to come out and use all of his torpedoes. But he instead gets torpedoed by the Schlieffen, who is actually kind of ready for it. And then we killed off throttle and we turn in, and we're going to easily avoid those torpedoes. Also having our hydroacoustic search running as we pick up our second kill there on the enemy Yamato. So let me talk a little bit more about just some of the characteristics of the ship in terms of, the guns, the concealment. So if you go for max conceal, as I said, it's 13.20 kilometer base concealment. If you take both the Concealment System Mod 1 and the Concealment Expert on the Commander. So that works out quite nice. The other thing we have going for us here, as you see, we are running a full concealed build, is that we take the top grade gunner. So whenever that activates, we're getting a negative 8%. Let me check that. Yeah, that's our main battery reload time whenever an enemy ship is within our base conceal. So that's fantastic to be, I think, running here, in my opinion, because part of it is your stealth and getting around to certain positions on the map. I was cycling here between armor piercing to the high explosive because I didn't know if the 4th Sherman would be waiting here for me or not, but he's not at the moment, so I'm just going to keep my eye on him. We're going to run into him here in a minute. Consumable-wise, you have a standard action time for your damage control party, 5 seconds for a cruiser, cooldown time is 60 seconds. Hydro is a 5 kilometer of enemy ships, 3.5 for torpedoes, and then you have the defensive fire AA consumable as well. And then you have surveillance radar, so it's actually, if you don't build into it at all, it's a 15-second action time, but detecting 12 kilometers out. And then, of course, we have our repair party, which is very helpful to be running here. Now, without taking the superintendent, you only have 3. But with superintendent, you get 4 heals. So I think that was another way of Wargaming, like, instead of giving it 4 heals starting off, we'll just give it 3. So that's very nice also. Or not as nice, so to speak. But at least you have heals, right? But it's very typical, of course, most 10 cruisers here in the game have heals. So again, I think it's better to run the hydroacoustic search than the defensive AA, unless maybe you're trying to farm, you're in a div with, let's say, a person who's running a CV, because there's so many more torpedoes in the game. I mean, more and more ships that Wargaming is introducing have torpedoes. And you have submarines as well, of course. And to make a quick comment here, I'm taking a risk. So I've saved my hydroacoustic search before coming in here, but I'm also aware I'm showing broadside to the Schlieffen. So I'm making a risk here, and we do take almost 10k there as we activate Kuznetsov as talent, where our ship is partially restored and accuracy of enemy fire is directed our ship is decreased, as we have our high explosive ready to go. And we're gonna go bout into the Sherman here. So I think he was thinking he could get away with possibly killing us here, as we're also paying attention to the sub. But what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna go bow in, and I think he's using some sap here, if I'm not mistaken. And he's having a really difficult time dealing damage to us. You can actually see he is going for our superstructure. Some of the shells are landing into the hull, which just isn't going to do anything. And he doesn't have the torpedo angles to kill us. So that's our third kill picked up there now, and we're gonna actually drift out of the cap. It would have been nice to have stayed in the cap and picked it up, but we're also a little bit concerned with that enemy sub, because, you know, we're very weak targets, so to speak. But it looks like the sub's focusing on the Loria, and I realized, no, we need the high explosive. It's just a sub and a destroyer remaining. So we're going to be looking around with that. Where'd it go? Come back. The ASW airstrike. So let's talk about that for a moment. So you have a 8-kilometer range, which is actually pretty good. I mean, of course, 10 to 11 is great, but they tend to nerf more of the range on the cruisers with the ASW strike. And you get 2 drops and a 30-second reload time. So very helpful for submarine warfare, because it would suck if you had ship-based ASW. As we're going to go ahead and use our radar here. We want to see what's around the corner before we go around the corner. So the sub was surfaced, so we're still going to take the shot. We knew he was about right there. We've got our ASW dropping, and that's going to pick up the Confederate General Offensive and our 4th kill. Now here's what I'm banking on. I am a low health target. I think Shimakaze is going to think he can possibly take me out, which he possibly can. But I'm kind of going to come around the corner here and present myself as low-hanging fruit, so to speak, to see if the Shimakaze will want to get that a kill off of me. So we're still going to take some blind shots here, but we're getting max adrenaline rush usage, as we're going to track him with the ASW strike. And I don't know if he's just like, nah, I'm going to go ahead and take a shot on him or what. But he's going to give us our Kraken Unleashed. So low-hanging fruits. That was a little bit of fun to do there in picking up our Kraken Unleashed, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get it this game or not. I knew this was going to be really close. So, an incredibly strong cruiser. So, lands us 152,000 damage with 5 kills, 167 main battery hits. With the General Offensive, Confederate Dreadnought, and the Kraken Unleashed, as we took a lot of damage and a decent amount of potential damage this game. We'll look at that here in a minute. Doom and myself are going to place 1 and 2. He did it right. I think someone was upset in the comments that he was still full health at the end of the game, but like, if you're still full health at the end of the game with Shimakaze, so to speak, you're sort of doing it right, as long as you're contributing, spotting, and getting kills on the team, which he was. 2.3 million potential damage. We took 94,000 damage, and most of our main battery was tied up. Damage was tied up in our main battery of our armor-piercing shells. So really good performance overall. And with premium count, you can see where we landed all said and done. So tomorrow I will do an upgrade and commander build video on the Petropavlovsk. I'll show you some things. We'll talk about that newer, unique upgrade that Wargaming introduced not too long ago, as I'm going back through the development blog on some of the things that they've done. There's like 4 pages in the World Warships development blog for Petropavlovsk. The unique upgrade, basically what it was, is it's a maximum AP shell damage plus 7.5%, with a maximum main battery shell dispersion reduced by -7%, so these accurate guns are even more accurate, but you lose 1 consumable or 1 charge for all your consumables, and this is in the 6th slot. So we'll look at that tomorrow and kind of weigh the pros and cons perhaps of taking that. So with that being said, if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.